Alright, thanks for joining me today. You know, I'm a pretty simple person, and as such, I still really like shiny things. And one subset of shiny things I like is coins. I love to go out and find coins metal detecting, and I've thought over the past few years of different ways to try to get these things clean, and that's what I'd like to share with you today. So here I have in my other hand some coins I found on a recent metal detecting hunt. You can see that a couple of these are okay, like this quarter must have been lost really recently, it looks brand new, but most look more like this. Pretty rough shape, it's been in the ground a long time. Here's a dime, that's definitely seen better days. And so I really spent a lot of time trying to think of ways to clean these. My first thought was, well, I could just use soap and water and really scrub them. Nope, that doesn't work. I can tell you that oxide layer on the outside is on there pretty darn good. So I thought, well, maybe I could use a wire brush. Just get that outer layer off. Well, it turns out this wire brush does a great job of removing the outer layer of skin from the hand you're holding the coin with, but not the coin so much. So that was no good. And then I thought, well, maybe I could make my own rock tumbler. I could just use a watertight container, put the stuff in there and just kind of roll it back and forth for a while. Maybe that would do it. You know, I do not have the level of patience or boredom that takes. I learned that pretty quickly. So finally, at this point, I was desperate. I did what any mature adult would do, and I called my parents. And I said, hey, is that old rock tumbler I used to have as a kid still around, and does it still work? And the answer was yes. And so I got my hands back on this old Lortone rock tumbler. This thing is built like a tank, it still works great, and I've found it's far and away the best way to clean coins. So let me get things rearranged here, and we'll go through these coins and see if we can't clean them up. Okay. So before I show you how to do this, I wanted to give a couple quick disclaimers. First of all, you should only ever clean modern coins that are only worth their face value. If you want to see a coin collector cry, you can tell that person about how you found an old coin and really scrubbed it and cleaned it. It's just a no-no in coin collecting, it can destroy the value. So if you're lucky enough to find an old coin, please don't clean it. What we're doing today is just modern coins, that'll be totally fine. The other disclaimer, make sure you remove all the copper coins from the silver colored coins. In other words, take all the pennies out. So I've already done that here. I'm left with all quarters and dimes. I don't have any nickels today. Usually I'd wait till I have more than this to tumble it, but I was excited to make a video, so this should be fine. So if you don't want to spend money beyond just the tumbler itself, you really don't need to. I've got some gravel here. This is just aquarium gravel. I can't remember even where I got it, but I think I got it for free. Put that in first. We'll put our coins in. I've got some water here. I'll put just enough in to cover the coins and the rocks. Doesn't have to be very precise. And a little bit of dish soap. Just one squirt should do it. And then the secret ingredient, this I didn't realize until quite a bit later, but if you want the coins to just be good enough to put in the coin machine, this will probably do it. If you want to get them really shiny though, a little bit of Lemmy Shine. We had this around for the dishwasher and I found it worked great, so just a little sprinkle, that's all it takes. Now, I've seen recipes online with all sorts of other things. I've found that this works just fine. So I'm going to put this on the tumbler for about an hour and a half maybe, and we'll see what they look like. So that's been about an hour and a half. Let's see what we got. All right, so I fished out a few coins here. You can see that for the most part they look pretty good. I think that's good enough for now. I'll clean these up and we'll take a look together. So here's the final result. I think they look great. Some of these look pretty much brand new. Some less so, like this quarter didn't turn out too good. I think it was just in pretty rough shape. But all these are plenty good to go through the coin machine at the bank. Yeah, again, great way to clean coins. All right, let's try this again with some copper pennies. Here's a handful that I found fairly recently. I don't know if you can tell very well through the camera, but they're in pretty rough shape. So we'll throw those in. One thing to mention is that I'm not tumbling zinc pennies. And if you're not sure of the difference, I'll include a link to my other video on that. But yeah, the zinc ones, from what I understand, just kind of fall apart. It's really not worth it. Normally I'd do way more pennies than this, but again, just for the purposes of trying it for a video, that's plenty. So some water. A little soap. Oops, probably plenty. Once again, our secret ingredient, some lemon shine. Give it a little sprinkle. That should be plenty. And yeah, we're all set. Get this closed up. All right, it's only been about an hour and a half, but let's see how these look. All right, so we can find one. There we go. Well, better. I think I'm going to call that good enough. I'll clean these off and we'll take a look together. Okay, I got everything cleaned up. Here are those pennies. I think they came out just fine. Some of these look almost brand new. A couple other ones, like this one, still in really pretty rough shape. The thing is, at some point it's sort of diminishing returns. I mean, all these are plenty good enough to go into the coin machine at the bank, and so at some point I don't think there's really any reason to get them any shinier, but yeah, I'll take it. I think that's great. So next up, I have a handful here of cartridge casings. These have been reloaded a bunch of times, but to my knowledge, never cleaned. All sorts of different manufacturers. And you can tell outside and especially in, they're pretty dirty. So one of the dumber things I've done in recent history is tumbled all these cartridge casings with that same aquarium gravel. It seemed okay until I got done and pretty much every single casing I'd put in the tumbler had rocks jammed in it. And it took me forever to clean them all out. So yeah, it turns out that was a bad idea. And so finally I just ponied up the money. I think it was about 20 bucks, and I bought these stainless steel pins. And these are made for tumbling brass. Just these little pins. I think this is 2 pounds, which seems to be plenty. So this time we'll use those to tumble these casings. I'll put the whole thing in. And like I said with all the other things, normally you could probably wait till you had more, but more of the casings anyway. Oh, here's a couple of 45 ACP I found, just for good measure. They're okay, they're not too bad, but they're a little dirty. So, and then we'll go with the same recipe. Water. That ought to be plenty. Some soap. There we go. And of course our lemon shine. Doesn't take much, that's probably too much, but hey, why not? I've heard people say you can use things like citric acid powder, might be a little cheaper, but we had this around for the dishwasher anyway, like I said, so just put that in. So I'm only going to tumble this maybe about an hour. Let's see how that looks. All right, that's been just over an hour. Let's go ahead and see what we've got. Okay. I don't know if you can tell yet, but I would say those are looking really good. Let me get these cleaned up and we'll take a look together. Wow, look at this. Here's what we ended up with. These look absolutely brand new, and the cool thing is, even on the inside, here's one of those 45s. I don't know if you can tell really well, but even the inside got really nice and clean, so I think that's pretty amazing. Very cool. Alright, so one last thing. I noticed my trusty old Seiko 5 here is getting a little tarnished, so I think I'll put that in, see if we can't get it shiny. Nah, I'm kidding about that, of course. But I do hope you enjoyed seeing all the things we were able to make nice and shiny in this video. One thing I will say is that the bad news, I think you're just going to have to buy a rock tumbler if you want to clean your finds like this. As I mentioned earlier, I've tried other methods and they just don't work. The good news is, once you invest in the tumbler and maybe some of this polishing media, these stainless steel pins if you want, that's pretty much your only investment, and it should last a very long time, especially if you get a quality tumbler like this one. You know, I wasn't planning on doing anything else today, but I've got these nickel-plated cartridges. These are also 38 special, and they're really not too bad. They're a little dirty feeling, and the insides are, of course, pretty gross, but let's throw those in too, see what happens. I don't think they'll need to go very long, maybe just a half hour. I've got maybe 50 of these. We'll just throw them in and give it a try. All right. Let's see how our nickel-plated brass turned out. Well, looks pretty good to me. Alright, so here's how our nickel-plated brass turned out. And as you can see, it looks great. I was worried it might wear off that nickel coating, but no, it seems to be totally fine. And I'm sure it's hard to see through the camera, but if you look down inside these casings, it's clean inside too. So yeah, that worked out great. Anyway, thanks for watching today. I really appreciate it, and see you in the next video. Take care.